configuration is done by basis people, and the configuration is done in the transaction SWU3, and we don't do this configuration, rather basis people do this, and but this is client dependent, so in each system the configuration should be done. So if something goes wrong with the workflow, or if the workflow goes into the error state, and you first have to ensure that all the configuration is done, and the items are in green checked. So which items should be in green checked, I will let you know, and I will also let you know what does the item indicates and what does it mean. So going to the T code SWU3. So here we are having some line items. First one is maintain runtime environment. So within this maintain runtime environment, again we have some sub items, and first let us discuss one by one. First one is configure RFC destination. So this workflow system executes all the transactional RFC, and the RFC destination has to be configured. So the name of the RFC destination is workflow underscore local underscore 3-digit client number. So suppose one workflow is going to execute one event, or the workflow is going to capture one event. So this particular transactional RFC should be configured within the system. It is client dependent. So you can see this 3-digit client number is configured over here. So once you click on this and once you execute it, press on this execute button. I'm not pressing this execute button because the reason behind it is already configured first of all, and second thing is the user who execute this particular item should have super user authorization, because this particular RFC destination is done by the people who contains the super user authorization, because by default one WF batch, which is a background user, gets created when you execute this, and that particular user gets all the authorization of the logged on user. So I'm the logged on user. If I execute this, then all the authorization which I possesses will get transferred to WF batch. So you should not execute this. Rather, the basis people who has all the authorization, that is super user authorization, who belong to super user group, should execute this particular items. So the destination, once you execute it, I will tell you what it comes. One pop-up will appear which contain 3 fields. In first field you will have to provide the RFC destination name, and in second field the WF batch, the username will be WF-batch. First will be the destination name, and the second will be WF batch, and the third one will be the password. So you can provide the password. Suppose so these 3 fields will be filled up when you execute this particular item. Now where this WF, this workflow local, that 3-digit client number comes, let me show you. Going to SWEL, this was the trace, event trace. So you can see here in RFC destination we have this workflow local 800, because this is 800 clients, so this is the RFC destination. So here you can see that if it is not configured, then no workflow is going to be executed. So first one has to be configured. Now second one, maintain workflow system administrator. This workflow run some job in background. So the background job needs one user ID. So the user ID is workflow batch user, that is a WF batch. So the workflow batch user is responsible to run all the background job. So now this workflow, who is this workflow system administrator? Workflow system administrator is the name or the ID of the person who receive all the notifications and the messages when the workflow goes into the error state. It means that whenever the workflow goes into error state, the notification is sent to the system administrator. So the system administrator will receive the notification that the workflow has got into error state. He will then debug the workflow and find out the problem and will fix the same. So this is where you will be maintaining the user ID. So in like for the production system for each company, they have one workflow administrator who look into this matter, who look into the workflow which has got into the error state. So they just we just maintain the name or the ID of the person in the workflow system administrator, and then the person will receive the notification in his ID in his inbox, and from there he can come to know which workflow has got into the error state. So here we maintain the IDs of the system administrator. Next, coming to maintain active plan version. As we know that in ABAP also, like whenever we make any changes, we capture it in one transport. But here we have captured in local object. So whenever we make changes, we capture it in one transport so that we can transport it to the other system. So whenever suppose I have created one transport D1 and I have transported it to other system. Now again I am making some changes in the same code, so it will be captured in one new transport. So the version will be different because each changes is captured in a new version. So therefore similarly in workflow also, whenever you make changes, the version gets created, new version gets created, and the changes gets captured in the new version. Let me show you. If you have concept or version in BAP, it is similar to what we have in workflow. You can see here we are having one version, that is 000 version. Okay, so suppose this particular version, this particular transport has been transported. I have captured it in one transport, and the transport has been it gets captured in workbench transport. So the transport is being released and it is moved to the quality or the production system. Now there comes the defect sorry, and I make the changes. Suppose I create one new step in the workflow. If you make changes in export and import, no new version will get created. But if you make changes in the steps and do a big change, then only the version will get created and it will be captured in one new transport, and then you have to release that particular transport. So now going to this hat version. In this version overview, you can see in version overview we are having only one version. Suppose in production somebody has pressed execute or somebody has done anything, the new version gets created, and due to this transport mismatch also the version gets created, new version gets created. So you have to see that whether which current version is running in production or quality system. If there is a mismatch, then what you have to do is you will create one new version in the development system. How you are going to create that? Going to workflow, generate version. Once you click on that generate version, you can see in version area 0001. So this is the new version which gets created. Now going to the hat, you can see in version overview, one new version gets created 001, but it is not activated. It is in deactivated state, and the activated state is 000. So if you want that 0001 should be in activate state, just activate the workflow. Now again go to this hat and go to this version overview and then you can see this particular line item and this radio button gets checked. So this particular line item gets activated. So now what you can do, you can now transfer this latest version to the other system to maintain the consistency. Because sometimes what happens, the workflow which is in production system runs in the old version, and the changes which you have made doesn't get reflected, and the means your defect won't get fixed. So you have to create one new version, you have to generate one new version in the development system and have to transport the same in other system, so that the new version, the workflow which are there in the production quality system will run in the new version. So this is how the version overview is done. So back to this workflow customization. Next one is classify decision tasks as general. Here all the decision tasks are classified as general task. As we know, in the right side you can see it is SAP tasks 8267. As we use this as a user decision step, let me show you. This user decision step, the task number is 8267. Going to the control, the task is 8267. So this particular task is always classified as general tasks. You can see here in agent assignment, we never make it as general tasks in agent assignment, rather it is done by default. Going to the attributes, you can see it is as general task. So we never maintain this particular agent assignment, this particular task as a general task, because it is done in this configuration part. So if you execute this, then all the this particular task will be classified as the general task. Now coming to this document generation and form integration, as we have done this document generation, also we have created one form. Going to the workflow builder, when you create this form in the workflow step types, here you can see we are having form and document from template. So one task gets generated by similarly this user decision task, and that particular task is also classified as general task. So there is nothing more to say, like we know already that what is the impact of this general task. If you don't define general tasks, the user is not going to receive the work items, and if you define possible agents, then you don't have to define general task. So it is exclusive, like we have already discussed in agent classes. So there in this configuration, in this automatic workflow configuration customization, this form, document from template and user decision, all these first three, the task gets general tasks by default. We don't maintain a general task in agent assignment. Now coming to maintain timer, it is not related to workflow. Now coming to schedule background job for missed deadline. So this particular background job is scheduled in SM36, and this, if you click on this, it should get automatically executed, but due to this test server it is not executed, so we execute it manually. But in your system, in Office system, it will be configured. You have to ensure that it is in green tick. So which job is used for this missed deadline? Let us see that. Going to SM37. So you can directly the job name is SWWDHEX. This is the job which is scheduled for the missed deadline. As I have discussed yesterday, that when you write something in, or you schedule the time frame in latest start and requested end, or latest end in requested start. So there, whenever that particular time is reached, so one scheduled background job runs in background, which actually collects all the missed deadline work items or notification messages and send to the respective users. So this particular job is responsible to collect all the missed deadline notification messages, and it actually send it to the users. So this is the particular job. So once you double click on it and go to the step, you can see this is the program name which is actually scheduled for this particular job. So that was the job name which has to be configured for this scheduled background job. Now coming to SWWA, let us see how it is done actually. I'm going into more deep. SWWA. You can see here this particular is the name of the background job, and this is the report program, and it is scheduled for every 3 minutes. So by default it is scheduled for every 3 minutes, so you can change also. So this is where you schedule and save it, but you can directly click on this. If you have your own system, you can try it there. You can just select this and execute it. It will turn into green. But before that, you also have to ensure one thing. Going to SU01, you have to see that in WF batch the printer is selected as LOCL, output device. In output device, you have to ensure that it is selected as LOCL, and in it should have the user group as super. So these two are the mandatory things before you schedule it. And nothing more you have to do in this automatic workflow customization. In fact, everything is done automatically. We don't do anything over here. In fact, basis people don't do anything. They just but the authorization should be there with that basis people. The person who has logged on should have all the authorization, and he just select it, or he can even click on this red button. Everything will turn into green. He doesn't have to do anything else. Only he have to configure this RFC destination, because he has to write the name of the RFC destination. As I told you, the name of the RFC destination should be workflow local and the 3-digit client number. So this is the only thing which the basis people do. Others are done automatically. Now coming to this scheduled background job for work item with errors. So going to the transaction, it has all these items have one background job which has to be scheduled for all the functionalities to get executed. So the second one was the for work item with errors, and the name of the job, let me go to the name of the job. You have to only remember the name of the job. We are not going to do anything. It is not present over here, so I will just show you the report program. So going to the transaction, like first I went to the transaction SWWA, and in the next I have moved to SWWD. So this is a transaction where you can see the name of the background job is SWWERE and the background report is RSWWERE. So what it do? Whenever any work items get into error state, so this particular schedule background job, it actually sends notification. You can see it actually try to restart, or also send notification that the work item has got into the error state to the workflow administrator. Also it tries to restart the work item automatically, because maybe due to some problem or some configuration the work item got into error state, so it tries to restart that particular work item. So that background job is responsible to restart the work item automatically. Now coming to this condition evaluation. As we know that coming to this workflow builder, in this task you can see we have one condition tab. Here we are having three conditions. First one is create work item, complete work item and complete execution. So in this three tab you can create any condition. Suppose I create one condition that I choose one expression over here with respect to this workflow container, that whenever the payment terms is ZTMP, then only the work item should get created. So you can define any of the condition as we do in this event start condition. Similarly, you can just define the condition, and whenever that condition gets fulfilled, then only the work item gets created. So these are the three tasks where you can just define the condition. So what happens? The background job here, this is run to evaluate that condition. So it is run, suppose it runs every 1 minute or 3 minutes. So it just checks whether that the condition has been met or not, and whenever it is met, it just creates that particular work item. So this the background job which is for this condition evaluation is I'm just writing the report program name, and just if you remove R from there, it will become the job name. So this is a report program with R, and the job name will be SWWCOND. If you have access to this particular transaction in Office, you can just check in SM37 as well. So this particular SWWCOND is for condition evaluation. Just give me a second. Now coming to event queue. As we know that when we define any event, like let me show you. In SWE2, the linkage, the place where we define the linkage, going to any of the item, you can see in this particular tab, this is enable event queue. What does it mean? It means that suppose you want that all the events which are triggered should be present in the queue, and one by one all the events should get executed. So the event should get fired. So you want that it should delay for some time. The event should delay for some time, and it should be inserted into that queue, and one by one it should get triggered. So if you enable that event queue, one background job is scheduled to pick out that event from that queue and to execute that particular event, or to trigger that particular event. So if you click on that, all the event will get inserted in that event queue, but the linkage should be activated for that particular event. Without linkage activation, it's not going to fetch that particular event from the event queue. So the linkage should be activated, and that if you enable that particular event queue checkbox, then that particular event will be inserted into that event queue, and one by one the event will be fetched from that queue and will get triggered. So the job of fetching and triggering that event is done by this particular event queue background job. Here you can see schedule background job for event queue. So the transaction is WEQADM. Event queue administration. Going to the background job. So here you can see the background job is SWEQSRV. So this is the background job which has to be scheduled, and the report program is just precede it with R. This is the report program. So this particular background job is scheduled to fetch that event from the queue and just to trigger that event. So this is the background job for event queue. Now for this clearing report, what it does, it actually clear or delete all the job logs of the background job. So as we know that whenever one background job is run, we get some number of logs for that particular background job. So it just clear that particular report. So the transaction to clear the report is, the report program is SWWCLER. So the program will be R, preceded with R. So this particular SWWCLER is the report program which has to be scheduled to clear all the reports of all the logs of the background job. So now coming to shared memory, don't use it. So for this deadline monitoring, last one is scheduled background job for deadline monitoring. So this particular, actually this is same to what we have this missed deadlines. So the time interval is 3 minutes, as we know that it is set, and the report program is SW, let me check. I don't remember that report program. I think it's so this is the report program which is used for that that deadline monitoring. So you should ensure that everything is configured that is by the basis people. Just every line item should be in green checked. You have to only check that much. You don't have to configure anything. It is not the role of system administrator, workflow administrator. So here everything should be in green. Now coming to this maintain definition environment, here we are having this maintain prefix number. So what is this maintain prefix number? Going to this execute, you can see that the client number is 800, the system is DMO, and the package is local package, that is the TMP, and the prefix number is 979. So you can see for each client, that is 803, 805, 4, each prefix number is unique. So here whatever we build like workflow, task, rule, so all the numbers which get generated, that the last 8-digit number, within that 8-digit number, first 3-digit number is configured here in SWU3. So this 979 you can see in tasks also, in workflow also, we are having this 979 as a prefix number. Going to the workflow builder, you can see here 979. So this is the prefix number. So here we configure the prefix number because suppose the same workflow exists in the different client. So whenever you move that workflow from one system to another system, it will override the existing workflow. So therefore, we just maintain this prefix number so that all the workflows developed in each system will be independent of that system. So dependent of that system. So whenever you move one workflow to other system, it don't override that particular workflow which already exists in that particular system. So all the developments are done in the development system, but in quality and in production we don't maintain this prefix number because we don't do development over there. Rather, we only transport the workflow from that development to the quality system. So therefore we maintain the prefix number in the development system, and we just transport all the workflows developed from development to the testing system or production system. But if suppose you have 4 clients in the development system, then you will have to maintain different prefix number for each system. So here you have to give the prefix number, then the SAP system number, then the client number, then the package name. So this is how you maintain the prefix number. Now coming to this check number range, it actually maintains the ranges for this workflow number. Suppose this is the 8-digit number. So from where to where it should, from the lower value, the higher value is maintained in this number range. Because obviously it is coming from some range only, means from 0 to suppose 99999. So it will continue from 999. And again it will start from the first if the ranges gets completed. So you will again have to check for the ranges, then again you will have to maintain other prefix number which should not clash with other client. So this is all the job of basis people. We don't have to worry about it, and also we don't create these number of workflows in one system, and so I don't think this ranges will get any time over. So if at all if it gets over, new ranges should be maintained by basis people. And now coming to this rest part is not needed for us. Only we need is maintain runtime environment. Everything should be in green checked, and in this maintain prefix number and check number ranges should be in green check. Others are not taken control. So any doubt in this configuration and customization part, so that I can move to troubleshooting and debugging section of workflow. We just need to know what it actually means. That's it, and everything is done automatically, and the rest, some few parts are done by basis paper. Next, I will tell you the real times challenges which we face, or the problems which we face, and the role of workflow system administrator, the maximum time, what they do, what is the job. And first, the job of workflow administrator is to develop the workflow. He should know the development. Next, the debugging and the support point of view. Everything he should know about that, the administrative part. So when many times the workflow goes into error stage, or what many times the same problem occurs with all the workflow. So I will just tell you the patent problems which actually occurs with this workflow, so that whenever there comes any problem, you can just first check all those 3 to 4 things before checking other things in detail. So these 3 to 4 things I will discuss, so that you can get first look over that. If you don't find anything over there, then you can move to next problem, next fixing of the defect. So first problem, as I told you, is the general task. We know that if the items is not maintained, as agent assignment is not done as general task, and if the possible agents is not defined, then the workflow will not, the work item will not be received by the user. So first thing you have to check is the general task. Next, you will have to check for the linkage, activation of the linkage. As we know that many times whenever the transport is done, so the linkage gets deactivated. As we know, we do linkage in, we just double click on that green check, or else we go to this transaction SWE2. We do the linkage activation over here, we check this. So many times what happen, if suppose the workflow has been sent, that is the workbench request, and the linkage is also you have captured in customization request. So the linkage should be captured in customization and the workflow should get captured in workbench. So if customization request is sent first and then the workbench request, then the linkage will get deactivated. So you have to ensure that while transporting the workflow which contains the linkage, the workbench request should be sent first and then the customization request. If at all it gets deactivated, you will have to activate it in the development system again through this transaction SWE2, and will have to capture it in the transport, that will be the customization transport, and again you will have to move that particular transport. So many times what happened, the event gets triggered but the workflow doesn't get triggered. So you can trace it in SWEL in event trace. You can see that the event has got fired, but there exists no receiver because the linkage has not been activated. So from there you can just come to know that the linkage is missing. So you can just capture that particular linkage in the development system and can transport the same. So this is the second problem we face in production system always. Third is the configuration part. Many times that configure RFC destination is not done. So you have to ensure that the configure RFC destination is done properly. And if it is not, then you can ask basis people to do the same. So this is the third problem which we face. So these are the three things. And now coming to the fourth one. Suppose you have maintained the agent assignment as the general task. Now, if you know that for all entries problem, like if you don't check for initial, if you check, like if you do for all entries on the internal table, and if you don't check whether the internal table is initial or not, then all the records will get fetched. So what happened in general task also, if you maintain agent assignment as general task and the responsible agent comes out to be null or initial, then that particular work item will be sent to all valid SAP user IDs. So this means that it is actually against the workflow. If suppose you have defined 5 responsible agents from that should be fetched from the table, and the entries are not maintained in that table, and that responsible agent comes out to be null, then since you have maintained the agent assignment as general task, then the items will be sent to all the SAP valid user ID. So how you can prevent that? We can prevent it by writing some few piece of code. Suppose let me show you. Going to the class where we have tried to fetch the agents from the table. Here we have tried to fetch the agents. Suppose this agents comes out to be null. So this agents is being tagged in the expression, that is a dynamic fetching of the agents, and that comes out to be the responsible agents. So if this particular agents comes out to be null, then if you have defined agent assignment as general task, then the items will be sent to all valid SAP user ID. So how we can prevent is, we can check for this X agents. you can check if X agent is initial and if just populate that particular agent with WF batch. So what will happen, at least if this X agent comes out to be initial, the work item won't be sent to all the system, rather it will be sent to WF batch user. So WF batch user is not the dialog user, rather it's a background user. So you can at least ensure that okay fine, it is not being sent to other user, because in production it will be really harmful if you send all the items to the send the items to the all SAP user IDs. So you can, what you can do, you can just hang it that item with this WF batch and can go to SWIA and can then forward that particular item to one valid user. Or you can do one thing, you can just maintain the agents again, and so that, and you can execute that particular workflow again, so that the items will be sent to all valid users only. So you, through this you can at least ensure that the items are not sent to all SAP valid user ID. You can just hang it with this WF patch. So this is how you can fix the code. This is a real time challenges which even we have faced. So many times it in production, the whenever the agents was not found, it was sent to all the SAP IDs, and this was a big bug in the workflow itself. So we can just prevent it from having it this with the WF batch user. I will tell you, if it is lying with WF batch, how you can again execute that particular work item to the and send it to the valid SAP user IDs, or forward it or resubmit it, everything. So just if you want that it should be prevented from sending, you can just send it to WF batch. So no harm with this WF batch. No people know, no simple people know the password of this WF batch and will get that work item ID. So now coming, these are the four things which we actually face problem. This is a common problem which we face. Now coming to SWIA transaction. First troubleshooting section of this workflow administrator. So as you would be familiar with this particular transaction, because throughout the classes we have used this transaction, and here you get the workflow ID, work item ID, and the name of the work item text. So suppose there are sales order, number of sales order, and also sales order is subjected to approval process. So you keep the sales order number in this work item text, so that through the sales order number you can come to know which work item, which line item is associated with that particular sales order number. So in production or development testing system also, if some defect arises, so against that particular sales order number you can just find it out through this find button, and just give that sales order number, so that from that sales order number you can come to know which line item is related to that particular sales order, and then you can just double click on it and can debug or diagnose the same. So if you give the dynamic sales order number in the work item text, it will be helpful for you only. So now coming to this table button, basically we go to the technical log and we just try to diagnose from there. But if suppose you want to go to the workflow, you can directly go to the workflow from here also. Suppose you are new to the company and you go there and you just don't know which all workflows are associated with which application, and nobody is there to tell you even. So what you can do is you can run the application at least in front end, and and that particular, if any of the workflow is associated with that application, you can just see in SWIA log. So you can just double click on it. The latest one will be definitely will be the log for that particular application. You can just double click on it, and from here you can see which workflow is associated with that application, even if you don't know prior to it. So going to here, but you should know the front end application at least from, so if you want to know the workflow for the application, you should know how to execute the front end application. So from here you can go to the workflow, and now clicking on Control P keep the caps lock off. From here you can come to know the container elements, all the container elements, whether it is set properly or not. So from here you can know the container elements. From here you can go to the graphical workflow log, and from here the status, whether it is completed or not, or whether it is in process. And now coming to this, when you click on this, you can see the green buttons. If any of the items get into error state, it will turn into red. And here you can see all the details of that particular step. So in fact through this only, I think 90% of the job of the workflow goes through this SWIA transaction only. So this is one of the main transaction which is used for diagnosing purpose. Now more about this SWIA. If suppose you want to forward, suppose I'm just telling you all the real time problems. You are having one user ID with you, but you are having one different user ID with whom the item is pending with, but you do not have the front end access to that particular user ID, but you want to debug that particular item. So what you can do is go to the SWIA transaction, select that item. That item may be pending with 5 user ID, but you do not have access to that particular user ID. Select that, forward that particular line item by clicking on this button. You can just select this and can forward that particular work item, but the user with whom you have logged on should be present in that particular user ID, should have all the authorization to forward that particular work item. So once you select it and click on this forward button, one pop-up will come which will ask you for the user ID to whom you want to forward. Then you can write the name of the user ID. This particular work item will be sent to that particular user ID to whom you want to forward it. So this is the forward button from where you can forward the items. You have to select the dialog step. So this is the dialog step, and here you want to suppose forward it to Kumar K. It has been forwarded successfully. You can see in the message just below, forwarded successfully. So once you forward it, the item will get disappear from your inbox and will get appear in the forwarded user inbox. Also, you can resubmit the items. How you can resubmit it? Going to SBWP. Suppose this is a line item. Here you can see one resubmit button is there. You have to define the resubmission date when it should be resubmitted. Just click on it. So this particular item is resubmitted to me only, but at this particular time. Suppose I am the employee, and I have submitted one approval process or the work item to manager of the company. So I want to resubmit it again after making the changes. So what I will do, I will make the changes, and again I will click on this resubmit button and will resubmit the items. Now, as I told you about this SWIA transaction, so from here you have the options like type, the status. So type, as I have discussed already, it can be dialogue or background or foreground, any the type of the job. Suppose for dialogue we are having W and the status is suppose ready. So through this also you can just filter out, give the date. So you can just filter it out through this also. Also, suppose they are in production in this real time companies, like many work items get executed at one time frame. So from there, if you want to search for your line item, it becomes very difficult. And if you know only the date, from this date to till this date only this application was executed, but you don't know the sales order number, nothing, you don't have any details about that particular defect. So how you can do is go to the transaction SWI2 underscore frequency FREQ. In this transaction, you can see all the items which were executed in the last 7 days or 2 days or 30. You just know the date or the time frame. You can just select this and can execute. I have selected dialogue. So all the dialogue task will be shown over here. Now from here you can double click on it and go to the respective items. So once you double click on it, that on that task related to that task, the number of work items which has been created till now will get displayed over here. Because for one task we can have 1000 to 1000 of number of work items, because once you execute it, the workflow, the task is common, the task is unique, but the work items is multiple. So the task is only single and the work item is multiple. So for that particular task, you can see here, going back, for this particular task, once you double click on it, number of work items was generated because number of times it was executed. So now coming to first one, let's suppose I want to debug the first one. Just double click on it, go to the log. Here log button is available. You will be moved to SWIA T code. So from here you know how to debug it. From here you can know the status, from here you can know the agents, and here from here you can go to the graphical log. So it will move you. This transaction is actually to filter out the items. Suppose you know only the date, then you will go to the SWI2 underscore frequency FREQ, and from there you can come to know which log was for which application, and from there you can go to this log. So I'm just showing you the process how you can move. Unless and until you face the real-time situation, you won't be getting familiar to these transactions. So try it. Even if you are developing your own workflow, try it with all this transaction, because 90% job of the workflow administrator is to debug the workflow, because it is very difficult to debug the workflow, because we can't place debugger in the workflow. We have to debug it standalone, and from this log only we can come to know the problems which have occurred in the workflow. So two important transactions, remember, first one is SWIA and the second one is SWI2 underscore frequency FREQ. So these two important transactions you have to remember to debug the workflow. I have noted down number of T codes. So I will discuss each. I have discussed this SWI2 frequency. So first, next I will discuss about this two transaction SWU underscore OBUF and SWI1 underscore root. So first transaction, suppose you have not maintained the agent assignment as general task. So this general task has to be it is client dependent. So in each system you will have to maintain it as general task. So remember that. So once you maintain it as general task, all the workflows which have already executed, so that particular workflow you will have to execute it again, because the agents were not determined for that workflow, because you have not maintained it as general task. Once you maintain it as general task, all the workflow should be executed again, so that the agents should be determined again and it should be sent to all those users. So how you can do is, first going to SWDT and you will be maintaining a general task in agent assignment. Then two more T codes you will have to run so that the agents will receive that particular work item, that old work item which has been executed. So how you can do is going to SWI1 underscore rule. Here give type as W and status as ready. Because the work item, the dialog work item which are in ready state, you want only that particular work item to be sent to the users, because we always send dialog work items to the user. So here just select this. The date is 7. Okay. Now select this particular item and click on this button, execute agent rules. So you just have to, or you can just select all and execute this particular transaction. Sorry, this particular button. So in runtime also, once you select or click on this particular button, since this particular item has the user, therefore it is not showing the message. If this particular item doesn't have the user with it, then what will happen? This item will be sent to the new user which you have determined. Like if you have done the agent assignment general task, it will again determine the users and will send to that user. So since this item already has a user, therefore it is not showing the message. So if it doesn't have, you will have to select all and click on this rule button, agent rule, execute agent rule. Because these are the items which have been already executed, and because of this general task, it was not able to send that item to the user. So once you have maintained it, you will have to execute this agent assignment rule. First you will have to do this, and then you will have to execute the transaction SWU underscore OBUF. You will have to synchronize the buffer. So you will just have to move to this transaction and will have to click this button. That's it. So what will happen? The items which were not received by the user, all the items will get appear in the inbox of the user after executing the 3 transactions. First is SWDD, where you will be maintaining the agent assignment. Then you will be clicking on this you will be moving to SWI1 underscore rule transaction, where you will be executing the agent assignment again. Third, you will be synchronizing the buffer. Then only the user will receive the old work items. Now, as I have told you about that RFC destination also, if it is not configured, you will ask basis people to configure it. But still, the workflow will be in error state, because unless and until you synchronize the buffer, it won't be fixed. So the basis people have done their job. They have executed the RFC destination. So you will have to synchronize the buffer so that the workflow will be executed successfully. So this is the important transaction. Without this, even if you execute the other transaction, it won't work. So for agent assignment and RFC destination, you will have to synchronize the buffer. So I have discussed about this SWU underscore OBUF and SWI1 underscore rule. Now, suppose the workflow has got into error state and you want to delete that particular workflow so that the person can start with new workflow. You cannot do it in production system. You will have to restart the workflow, but you cannot delete it. But in suppose testing system, you want to delete the workflow, and because it has got into error state, and so that the person can start with new workflow. So how you can delete it? Going to the transaction SWWL underscore top level. Here, just select the status as error. Type as background job or the dialog step and execute it. So what will happen? Since no work item exists for the no work item with the error state exists. If it exists, so From the log you can come to know which line item has got into error state from that SWIA transaction. So from there you can just come to know the type of the work item, and there you can select it and the status will be error, suppose. So you can just execute it. What will happen, the workflow will get deleted and all the dependent work items, as I always tell you that in log we see the mother work item and then the child work item. Going to the log, I think we don't have child over here. We have only mother work item, that is 963157. So you just give 963157 means the what will happen if you give the here if you give the type and the status, it will delete the mother and all the child work items so that the workflow will get deleted. So this is how you can delete the workflow from this the workflow which are in error state. Also you can delete the completed state or the ready state, but we don't do it generally. We only want to delete the workflow which are in error state. So we can take the help of this transaction. So this is the transaction which is used. Now coming to the transaction SWUS. So this T code is used to test the workflow which we used to do in Workflow Builder. Same thing, in Workflow Builder we execute this test button. So instead of this test button we are having this SWUS transaction where we can test the workflow, give the workflow number and test it. Same thing which we used to do in that manual testing of the workflow. Now suppose one workflow you have executed. Let me execute one. Now in below message you can see 963158. This is the work item ID which has been created for this particular workflow. Now you want that to execute the same item, same work item with the same data. Because in many time in testing production system, what happens, the workflow get executed with some container elements, and you want to see, you have made the changes in the workflow, and you want to execute that particular workflow with the same data, with the same container elements, everything. So you don't have to provide the data in the container elements. Rather, what you can do is just note it down the work item ID number. The work item ID is 963158. So just note it down, this work item ID number, copy this. I'm just showing you how you can execute the already executed workflow with the same container element. The transaction is SWU underscore with reference. Oh, sorry. SWUS underscore with reference. So here, give the work item ID number and execute it. So what will happen, this, when you execute it, new work item ID will be generated. You can see 963160. But here you can see I haven't provided any of the container elements. So what it do, it takes the container elements, the values of the container elements of this particular work item ID, that is 963158, and execute the workflow. So all the changes which you have done in the workflow will get executed with the same container elements. Now you can go to this particular work item ID in the log and can see whether that changes has fixed the defect or not, or whether the requirement has been met or not. So this is how you, I'm just telling you, this is how you can work with the logs and this, all this transaction to execute one, to fix one defect. So suppose you want to see what is the values, or the, if you want to see the log of this particular work item ID, you can just uh, mm, copy this 963160. So you want to see this particular work item ID, go to SWIA, give this work item ID in the identification section and execute it, and you will be getting one log. From there you can see the container elements, whether it has whether it is coming out with the changes or not which you have done in the workflow. So this is one of the process to execute the already executed workflow. But these things you cannot do in production system, because we cannot execute another workflow, or we cannot subject that as a sales order with to approval process, because every item is important, like every sales order is important over there. So we have to ensure, means we cannot use all this transaction in production. We can do it in testing system so that we can fix the defect. As much as defect you can fix in testing system, we should do it, because in production it becomes very difficult for the workflow people to fix out the defects, because we cannot execute all this transaction. It will again send the items to the person and who is not the valid person, or again it will trigger one new workflow, which will be again one problem for us. So in production you should be very careful in executing the transaction. So now these three were discussed. Now coming to SWI. Till this, any doubt in the transaction which we have executed till now? So this SWI, in this transaction, we have number of workflows available, and these are the standard workflow. You can go through all the workflow, and you can understand the concept in more better way. Like suppose we have workflow for this deadline monitoring, this latest end, which we have discussed yesterday. So you can just select this and can start the workflow, so that you can come to know which how it has been done, so that you can understand through the standard workflow also. So many workflows are available here, like wait step, verification condition. So many demo workflows are available. You can go through the workflow to understand the concept in more better way. So this is a transaction which is available. You can, I will open this notepad. You can just note down all the T code so that you can try it by yourself. Now coming to SWUD. In this transaction you can come to know everything, like whatever I have discussed with different transaction, but this is the one place transaction. This is a one stop transaction where you can debug or fix the defect from this particular transaction itself. You have to give only the workflow number, and all these items are available to test the workflow. What you have to do is first go execute this verify automatic customization. So it will take you to the transaction SWU3. From there you can verify whether these are in green tick or not. As I have told you, you will have to explicitly go to SWU3 transaction. Rather, from there you can directly go from here, verify automatic customization. And suppose the task has not started within that workflow due to some reason, so you can just execute this particular item, and then you will get the sub items here you can see determine instances of tasks, refresh organizational environment, event queue, event trace, consistency, and simulate event. Suppose the task was not started due to some reason. So the reason you can find it from these sub items. First, coming to determine instances for task. It will actually show you the work items which has got generated for that particular task. So you can see I have got one work item for that particular task. From here you can go to the log or you can double click it. This has actually moved you to the SWIA transaction. So therefore this is, I told you that SWUD is a single stop for all the transaction. So here, from here you can get all the work item associated with that particular task. Now coming to refresh organizational environment, this actually gives you all the details of agent assignment. Suppose the agent assignment you have done in between, then what it will do, it will refresh that particular agent assignment. You have to just execute it and you can see the message organizational environment updated. Now this event queue, click on this. So here the event queue, as I have already discussed, that if you have some event, that suppose for this event only the workflow should get started, so you can see whether that event is present in that queue or not, or whether it has been means taken out from that queue and whether it was triggered or not. So since I haven't enabled that event queue, so nothing was present. Now coming to the event trace, it will take you to the transaction SWEL, from where we used to see the trace. You can see it has taken you to the transaction SWEL. So all the trace will get appear over here. Now consistency check for this task, it actually checks for all the importing, exporting parameter, everything, and it checks whether the task is activated successfully or not. So everything is in green, which ensures that the task is in activated state. Now going to the simulate event, just execute that. It will actually take you to the screen where, from where you can come to know which all workflows were associated with this event and which workflow has got started successfully and which all workflow has not got started successfully. So from here you can see successfully started. So this 100051 has got successfully started. This workflow has actually captured this particular event because the linkage was present, and not started, this workflow was present but the linkage was deactivated. So from here you can come to know whether it was started successfully or not. So here through this SWUD you can come to know everything. So this is the you can try this transaction for your own built workflow, and can try to get familiar with this transaction so that you don't have to move to other transaction or you don't have to remember other T codes. Rather you will have to only remember SWUD. From there you can debug everything. Now coming to the transaction SWPR. This is the transaction where you can restart the workflow after error. As I told you that whenever the workflow gets into error state, so you can either delete it or you can restart it. So you just have to get the work item ID from the work SWIA and just paste it in identification and execute it. It will restart that particular workflow. So from here you can restart that particular workflow, the workflow which has got into error state. Now coming to SWDM. Just click on this. It will actually take you to all the workflows which have been built till date. So you can see it has all the workflows which has been built till date. It is actually one explorer of all the workflows. So if you want to search any workflow, you can go to SWDM and then search your workflow. From here you can double click on it and you can move to that particular workflow. It will take you to the screen, and from here you can go to the workflow builder. If at all you are not able to search the workflow, as I told you, from where somebody was asking from where you can search the workflows already built, go to SWDM transaction. From there you can search your workflows. Now coming to SWU0. This is the event simulation T code. Here you can give the object type. Here you can simulate the event, like whether it is started or not. Just execute it. The T codes, as I have already shown you in SWUD transaction, from here you can come to know which workflow has actually captured that event and which workflow has not captured that particular event. So this screen you I have already shown you in SWUD transaction. So as I told you, that particular transaction is a single stop for all transaction. So you don't have to remember other T codes. Only one T code, that is SWUD. So this SWU0 is for event simulation. Now coming to SWPC. This particular transaction will execute the workflow after system crash. Suppose there is system crash and you have to take down the work item ID number and just paste it in the identification, what you can do is you can just give the date and can execute it, so that it will continue that particular workflow after the system crash and will give you the log. Now two more transaction, that is SWI1. SWI1. It actually gives you similar to what we do in SWIA. Same. It is similar to SWIA T code. It gives you the line item of all the logs. So you can just double click on it and move to the log. Now SWI5. This is the important transaction. SWI5. It is very helpful in production and testing system. So what you have to give in SWI5 is name of the user. Suppose one user has left the company and all the work items are pending with that particular user. So you can just take out all the work items which are pending with that particular user. Suppose my ID, I have left the company and I just want all the work items which are there in that particular my ID, the items which are present in my ID. SWI5. So select work items to be completed and here give the ID of the person who has left out the company, or you want to see the items which are pending with this particular user. Let me check this. So here you can see any of the IDs which you give and give the future date for work items to be completed and for the past date completed work items. So based on one task, for this particular task, this user has two work items. And for this particular task, this user has one work item, and for this particular task, the user has this particular work item. So you can see not reserved by an agent and Kiran. So these two items, these three items are not reserved by any of the agent, because if one item is sent to 5 user, and out of that 5 user, if any one of the user reserve that particular item, then that item will get disappear from others inbox. So it is not reserved by this any of the agent. So what you can do is you can just select, suppose, these two work item IDs. Okay, so for this particular task I need these two work item ID. Select that, or you can select all of the work item, and because you want to forward it to other user, so you can just select, go to the tree code SC37, right, forward the function module. I'm just showing you how you can send that work item from backend. Select the T code, press F8. I have selected the work item. Select one. Give the work item. Give the user ID to whom you want to select, to whom you want to send it to. I want to send it to LKD, and the current user is Kumar K, because the item was of Kumar K. Execute it. Go to the message. You can see work item forwarded to user LKD. So this is how you can forward the work item to other users. So based on the specific user ID. First you will have to take out all the work item present in that user ID through transaction SWI5, and then you will have to forward it from backend. Or if you want to forward it in a mass, then you can write one program which will loop through this, and you will call that function module and will send all those work items to that particular user. So this is how SWI5 works, and we use in a very good huge amount way in the production and testing system this particular transaction. Now we are left with last three. So this last two will be discussed tomorrow once we discuss this WebDyn Pro. These two transaction is useful over there. So only this last transaction is left. Here you can analyze the application log, all the logs, whichever the suppose the background job has been run and some has got into error stage, so you can analyze this log from here. This is the application log which we use in this ABAP program also. So from here you can see the log, what went wrong. So this is a transaction to view the application log. So all these transactions are used for debugging and troubleshooting workflows. And the next, all these function modules are there. I will discuss this function module tomorrow, where it is used and how we use it. So leaving these two, all these T code are used for debugging. These are the very important T codes which are used to debug and troubleshoot the workflows. So any doubt in this transaction, just let me know. Or you want to note it down, you can note down all the T codes. Yes, Rajesh?
Yesterday, actually, I was trying in the organization for that event for BUS 2032 for the creation of sales order. So whenever I used to do, it is to go in the error log and the mails over there. So it is due to the synchronization we have not done. That's the reason it is going.
In which system you have done?
In my office system, I have
can you tell me what is the error? No, it is not because of this synchronization. It can be of any other reason as well. So I just want to see that error. What is that error? Means once you go to SWIA, you will be getting one. Let me show you.
And yesterday also, what I was doing, I was trying to do that thing in my system also. The mail got triggered, but the when I had activated the SQL trace, workflow trace, but it was not coming over there.
Means the event was not present in that trace.
Yeah, yeah, event was not present in the trace.
Which event you have used of the business object?
Uh, e- Even for change, I have used.
BUS 2032 and changed event. So you would have not on this trace. You will have to switch on the trace in
I have
SWELS.
SW.
ELS. First go to the transaction SWE.
Acha, I went to SWEL, and
Yeah,
from
first you will
there
have to switch
go
on the
to and
trace.
switch on.
See, no. See, first step is to go to transaction SWELS. It is already switch on. That's the reason I never switch on here. So this is one time job. You just switch on the trace. It will show you switch on. Then only the trace will be on, and then only you can see the event. Then go to transaction SWEL. Now you can see all the trays over there. Okay, and since this is the standard business object event, it will definitely be triggered once you execute that particular type T code VA02.
Okay.
Okay, and just send me the log of that error state. I will see what is the error which you are
Yeah, I'll
getting.
send you because I didn't have your mail ID over there. No, we don't have access over there, like Gmail and all the things. So I didn't have your mail ID. So
It
today
is
I'll do that.
I must learn. Send it to me in imustlearn.co.in. Okay, or in
Okay.
Gmail also you can send me. So here what you have to do is just select if it is in error state. In log you would be seeing the error. It will be in red button.
Yeah, error was there.
Click on that.
Yeah.
Click on that. One pop-up will appear, and there the reason would be there. For what reason it has got into error.
Okay.
So any other doubt for this T codes? These two T code will be discussed tomorrow, and the function module will be discussed tomorrow. So tomorrow I think we will be completing the workflow classes. Yes, Praveen?
Yeah, in the live scenario, we are taking like user decision for sales approval and all, no?
In real time scenario?
Hello?
Yeah, in real time scenario.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can take the help
Yeah,
of
yeah.
user. You can take the help of user decision if the customer doesn't have problem with the standard screen. Like you can see, we get one standard screen with the buttons approve, reject. So if the customer doesn't have the problem with the standard screen, you can take the help of user decision step, or you can just try to customize it through form. You can take the help of form and can customize it, or you can take the help of web intro screen as well. So there are 3 to 4 ways
No,
through.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, like sales order approval, I made user decision configuration in the workflow. So when the approve, it is fine. He can process the sales order further to the next step delivery. But if he rejects, no, so I want to restrict the sales orders that it cannot be processed to delivery. Like that scenarios must be there.
Yes, definitely. You can do that. See, you will have to develop some logic for that. Suppose you are starting the workflow, and if it is in reject, then what you will be doing, you will be updating some container element. Suppose the action. Okay, you have made one container element in the action, and you are just whenever it is rejected, you are just updating that branch will be there for that rejection. You will be updating that container element with the action reject. So in code, what you will be doing, once it is started, the workflow is started, you will read that particular workflow through this read container FM. This particular FM is available through which you can read the container element, and through this read container it will actually return you one internal table from where you can read the container, and then you will be reading the action element, and then you will be checking whether the action is rejected or not. If it is rejected, then you will have to stop the processing further. So this is how you will work with the logic and this function module.
Yeah, fine.
And one problem you can face if you're triggering the workflow through this event, you won't be able to get the work item ID because the event doesn't returns one work item ID. So you will have to take the help of start workflow, the FM. So once you start the workflow through that start FM function module, it will return the work item ID, and you will pass that work item ID to this read container, so that from there you can read the container element and can see the action, the value present in that action. So if you trigger it through event, it won't be possible to go through the further logic part.
Okay. Fine.
I will discuss this FM and how you will be using it in application logic. I will tell you. Okay, Praveen?
Yeah. Yeah, fine.
So this FM will be discussed. I have noted down some of the FM, but there are a number of FMs available. So I will be discussing. You can just go to this FM and write SAP WAPI and then press asterisk, and then can see with this F4 help number of FMs are available. You can use all the FMs in the application and can interact with the workflow. So in the logic, in the ABAP code, you can interact with the workflow only through this FMs. So tomorrow I will be discussing about WebDriven Pro also, and we'll see if we can complete. If not, then we will be completing on Monday. So see you guys tomorrow.